The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air. So, David, how's this temple of yours coming?
Oh, here we go again.
Oh, yes, you're Solomon. My apologies. Man, did I tell you look so much like your father?
Yes, I know. But good news though, the temple is almost done. You remember when we spoke last year and I told you that it would be done around this year? Yup. It's about done. We're like a month or two away.
That's why I'm back, trying to track the progress of this. You know, we need to bring my man back home.
Well, yes and no.
What do you mean?
So you and my father had an agreement on the temple, but there is still one more project, a big one, that requires the attention of you and your men. So if you don't mind, I kind of need you and your men to help me build a palace. It might take more than the temple, about 13 years or so. Just consider it another favor for my father, David. I knew you'd understand. Thanks so much.
Whoa. Hold on. Yes, I loved your father, David, like a brother. I'm sure you know that. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that a few times. But the only agreement me and your father made was for the temple. The temple is completed. My oath to your father is done. What is in it for me?
Funny you mentioned, because to repay you for everything I was thinking, I would reward you with 20 cities in Israel. How does that sound?
Yeah, cities. You know, what I gotta lose? David was like my brother. Fine. There you go. Keep my man as long as you need them. And I will be looking forward to these cities. Hopefully, you keep your end of the bargain. Last week, we discussed Solomon fulfilling his father David's dream and building a house for God. This week, we'll be exploring 1 Kings chapter 7 and seeing what else Solomon has in store. As always, be blessed and enjoy. All right. Welcome back to another episode of a Breath of Fresh Air podcast here with your hosts,
Nakhaz Gay.
Earl Roberts. Definitely appreciate everyone for tuning in to another week. Hopefully everyone's new year is still going off to a great start. Hopefully everyone's feeling these blessings, and hopefully everyone is still on path to their New Year's resolution that they may or may not have set for the year. How's your week been, man?
Oh, bro, I tired of coming here and saying I had a long week. We didn't talk, but I thought I would have had a smooth end of year. You know what I'm saying? I actually was looking, like during the summer, I was looking forward to the end of the year, because I'm like, things gonna slow down, and but God may have had other plans, because things didn't slow down at all. Like my day-to-day at work, it picked up a lot. But by the grace of God, I am thankful that this week I successfully dieted and exercised. I finished one full week, bro, of being perfect on my workout regimen.
Mm-hmm.
So I am thankful to that. I think that made my week even harder, because I had to be so disciplined. But it's so crazy because I had a lot of late nights this week at work, but I was not sleepy at work, bro. And that's so astounding, because I did make the diet change. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't eating fast food. I was cooking every meal, stopped eating lots of vegetables, high like nutrient like food. But I was not sleepy, but I was tired at the end of the day, obviously, because everything. But man, it's just crazy. It's just crazy to garbage in, garbage out.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You know what's crazy? Like, so right now I'm doing this thing where I just eating like mostly like just like I guess, fruits and vegetables during the week.
Mhm.
And then like on the weekends, I still like eat meat again.
Mhm.
But it's not, but like you feel the difference, man. Like you definitely feel the difference. Like
I
you
remember
feel
that.
good.
I remember when me and your bro used to play basketball, bro. If I was to eat fast food and do that, I could feel the difference, bro. Like I don't, bro. That was the first time I think this is because I'm getting older. Like it's the first time I couldn't get away with doing whatever to my body. You know, I was like, man, bro, I'm running slower, heartburn, like, whoa, like this workout is so intense right now, and it's really because I ate fried food.
Bro, it's like it's so true because your body literally functions better, and it's so funny because I'm not a vegetarian by any stretch of the imagination, right? But your body functions better when you don't eat like processed foods and everything. Like, man, you're not as gassy, you're not as bloated. Like fruits and vegetables, I just help you like your mind's more clear, you can more focus, and ironically, literally have more energy.
Yes, I met this girl a few years back. We were out at dinner. I don't know if you remember. And I tell you, my boy, I didn't know he was Spanish, bro. Like,
Oh yeah.
I thought he was
Yeah.
African American, but I went to his house. You know, he's Puerto Rican, and everybody's speaking Spanish except this girl. And so she and I, this was Sabbath dinner. I was just, talking to her and stuff, and she told me that she like was narcoleptic, and she was in law school and stuff like that, and it was really hard for her to focus until she went, I think, vegan.
Mm,
And she said it took so much for her to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
of
hard. It was a
course.
hard transition as naturally, but she said that she was able to focus so much better, and she was able to like stay awake. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, that is crazy to me. It's crazy the effects that these things have on your like the food have on your body. And I feel like we at the age now where we really starting to see some of our peers, like we can see the impacts of their diets already. When you get older, you see people who have high blood pressure, this thing, that thing, as a result of like lifestyle. But now I feel like we had the first steps where we noticing, oh, this person might have to change because of this. And I remember when I was 10 years ago, I was playing basketball and I watched somebody had a heart attack and they passed away, and they were 30, bro. They were 30 at the time.
Ouch. It was crazy. Like this same weekend, go keep going.
I'm about to be 30, bro. So that now
It's different.
It's different now, because at the time I was like, yeah, bro, your boy old. You know what I mean? So like these things happen. Like, no, sorry, I wasn't trying to minimize it, but it was more understandable to me, health complications, because I figured that he was much older, but now I'm at an age like, no, I'm still pretty young, What were you about to say?
No, I was saying like it's crazy because like today, well, not today, but this week in a Monday night football game, there was a guy who legitimately like I had a heart attack on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Younger than us, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Younger than us. Had a heart attack on the field. They had to revive him. God's good. He's doing way better now today. Yeah. But I mean, like he literally like was out. Like they had to revive him on the field, so you could literally like everyone know when you have a heart attack, your heart stops, and clinically what that means. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But like you just never know, man. And granted, football is a collision sport, but just like you just never know. But like now is the time when we should be taking care of our bodies. Young people, like, because you rather try to prevent something now than when, like, in 20 years you realize, oh, I got high blood pressure, I got diabetes, I got all these other things that if I had just taken better care of my diet earlier, I could reduce some of these problems. I mean, for what it's worth. I mean, like they said, Venice have the health methods and everything about it, right? But like outside, it's like you're even seeing like people outside and different everyone saying, okay, like, what are you trying to say? Now it's a cool thing to be a vegan. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a trend to be a vegan, be a vegetarian, or you're a meat eater type thing. But it wasn't like, but I'm just saying like, it's true. Like regardless of how you feel about vegetarians and vegans, like, shoot, I still eat meat, but it's true. Like your body functions better when you don't eat meat.
Yes, because it's so you could, bro. Like honestly, if if anybody refutes that statement, it's so many documentaries. You can watch What the Health on Netflix, and this ain't an ad or nothing like, but it's like so many documentaries, articles, and stuff like that where you can see it's like the meat, especially when you don't raise these on a farm, the meat we get, people aren't ethical. The meat, they have certain diseases sometimes, and they cut it off, you know what I'm saying, and they still give it to you. And we putting these things in our body. The cow might, remember when it was a big thing about mad cows disease, because it's like, the cows, they were going through some things and people were just still selling us this cow with all these issues and stuff. And so we don't know, like, we don't really have that much autonomy over the type of meat that we getting, like we have the type as in if you eating beef or chicken or whatever, but you don't know how healthy this cow or whatever actually was. And because of that, anything they dealing with, we eating that, we putting that in our body. And by no stretch of the word, am I vegetarian. I ain't even close to being a vegetarian. You know what I mean? But it's so funny? I could easily be vegetarian, but I would be more of a carbitarian. You know what I mean? Because I ain't too big on the veggie. I ain't that big on the protein. I just eat it because I have to and stuff, but I could easily not eat any meat. You know what I'm saying?
I can see you being a pescatarian.
I could easily be a pescatarian. I can do that in my sleep. You know what I mean?
You like your fish.
For real, but it's like the veggies, that's a big adjustment for me. And I don't know, I might be morphing into my mom though, because I've been eating all type of vegetables this week.
You talking to models don't put salad dressing on the salad.
No, I know you different, bro. You've been different. Like I live with you. I'm like, yeah, this guy's different, bro. Like it couldn't be me. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's what's so funny. Like I love meat, but I know I could be a vegetarian, bro. Because like literally all week I just eat salads and fruits all week. And it wasn't like I was missing nothing.
Right.
But
that's where we differ. Because I would have definitely been, I really would have just been missing the carbs, bro. Like the starches is what I'm saying.
No,
that's
you like that. You like that.
What I mean? But that's still, it's not, those things don't have meat. So you know what I'm saying? You can still eat those things, but it's not the healthiest.
Yeah. But anyway, we didn't expect to have a health message tonight. So we missing the Bible verses.
And it's so funny because I am not the guy to be talking about health message, but by the grace of God, I had one healthy week in 2023. And
hopefully you have at least 26 in there. That way you have more healthy weeks than non-healthy weeks.
Exactly. So now next week when we speak, by the grace of God, I'm going to be saying another healthy week. You know what I mean? So 1 week at a time,
All right. So this week we in 1 Kings chapter 7.
Yes.
We got a lot of verses to go through. It's weird. We have a lot of verses, but some of them, super short. Mm-hmm. So it's a long chapter, but it don't feel as long.
Yeah.
But anyway, so last week we talked about Solomon finally getting to build the temple that was, David's dream. But David had a lot of murder in his closet.
Yeah, his rap sheet was in the clean. I shouldn't say rap sheet, but his reputation was in the cleanest.
Yeah, so God was like, I can't have this be David's temple.
Right. This can't be associated with this because not everybody might have the fondest memories of David for real.
Not at all. So God said, I'm going to let your son build the temple. And so now we see Solomon finally was able to build a temple in conjunction with the people of the kingdom of Tyre, the Sidonians. Mm-hmm. And the king of Tyre was one of David's closest friends. So he helped Solomon exchange workers. He sent them a bunch of cypress trees and cedar trees from Tyre, and they floated them down. And Solomon was able to build a temple. It took them about 7 years. And he was able to, and we went through all the intricacies of the temple, how it would mimic the tabernacle and how the tabernacle mimicked the Garden of Eden, which essentially was God, a dwelling place between God on earth. And we had an interesting conversation at the end talking about just like how some people, there's no heaven without God. And Kazi did a wonderful job just talking about like the symbolism of what heaven is right now and how people want their heaven on earth, but what is actually happening in heaven with God, Jesus up there actually interceding for us in our sins. And that was a very, very beautiful discussion. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that. And if you didn't, definitely go back to last week and check it out. I think there's a blessing in there for everyone. But this week we're in 1 Kings chapter 7. I will start reading from the New King James Version, New International Version. New King James. All right, so New King James Version. But Solomon took 13 years to build his own house, so he finished all his house. And it's interesting how chapter 7 starts off with this, because again, remember, historically, this was just one scroll. So what you would have just finished reading in the last scroll was, it took Solomon 7 years to build the temple. Like literally, like 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 38. And in the 11th year, in the month of Bull, which is in the 8th month, the house was finished in all of its details according to its plan. So he was 7 years in building it. And that was directly referring to the temple. And the very first sentence of chapter 7, but Solomon took 13 years to build his own house, so he finished all his house.
Mm-hmm.
So we see it's a direct comparison the Bible wants you to see between how grand the temple was. And it took Solomon 7 years to build the temple in all of its grandeur. But in the very next sentence, the Bible says it took Solomon 13 years to build his house. Pretty much twice the amount of time to build his own personal palace than it did to build the house of God. And we know how decadent the house of God was. And so that's it's interesting because you see the Bible put some things and where it's placed just to have the direct contrast and perspective and parallel.
Yeah, two times. Yeah, so it's it took twice as long to build his house. Very interesting, and it's some more similarities to be made between his house and the temple.
Exactly. So in verse 2, so he also built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Its length was 100 cubits, its width was 50 cubits, and its height was 30 cubits, with 4 rows of cedar pillars and cedar beams on the pillars. And it was paneled with cedar above the beams that were on 45 pillars, 15 in a row. There were windows with beveled frames in 3 rows, and the window was opposite window in 3 tiers. And all the doorways and doorposts had rectangular frames, and window was opposite window in 3 tiers. He also made the hall of pillars, and its length was 50 cubits, and its width was 30 cubits, and in front of them was a portico with pillars, and a canopy was in front of them. He made a hall for his throne, the hall of judgment, where he might judge, and it was paneled with cedar from floor to ceiling. And the house where he dwelt had another court inside the hall of workmanship. Solomon also made a house like this hall for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken as a wife. All of these were costly stones cut to size, trimmed with saws inside and out from foundation to the eaves, and also on the outside to the great court. The foundation was of costly stones, large stones, some 10 cubits and some 8 cubits. And above were the costly stones, hewn in size and cedar wood. The great court was enclosed with 3 rows of hewn stews and a row of cedar beams. So were the inner court of the house of the Lord and the vestibule of the temple.
So it's a lot of cedar.
Yes.
It's a lot of cedar. I think it was interesting that they built a house for Lebanon too. Lebanon, they got a house out of it too. It's only right though. You know what I mean? All of us work together on this project. Now we get you out the way. But Solomon, he had a lot of dwelling places. You know what I mean? This girl got a house. Well, his wife. You feel me? He got a judgment hall. Solomon was big time, in my opinion. Solomon was pretty big time.
So was this? I don't even think this was a house for Lebanon. I think they just gave it the nickname because it was filled of trees from Lebanon. I don't even think it was from Lebanon. Just reading it, this, because all these stuff they talking about, it sounds like all of these was actually in
the house.
These are Solomon's own, yeah.
Because that's what I was gonna ask too. Because they so in the New King James it says he also built the house of the forest of Lebanon, semicolon. Its length was 100 cubits, and so it's almost as if they going on to elaborate on this house. You understand? And so you telling me they going, so they say, all right, Solomon built a house and he built a house for Lebanon. Then they only talking about Lebanon. So it makes sense that this was actually talking about Solomon's house. But then the Bible's like that verbiage. Sometimes it's confusing to us.
Yeah, buddy. I think it's just got the nickname because I mean all of these trees they talking about, they ain't come from Jerusalem.
No.
Which is wild.
Yeah, Jerusalem wasn't a place for trees, but probably not cedar trees. Because David even making provisions to say, we all got to go here for this.
Exactly.
And it couldn't have been close because they're like, no, we dropping this down the river, for this. We dropping these, like in the last episode we mentioned how the king of Tyre, they're like, we putting these logs on rafts,
Mm-hmm.
we throwing them downstream to Jerusalem. Because we ain't carrying them.
Because there's a lot of things. I still trying to figure out where they get the stone from. I mean, Jerusalem is kind of rocky and thing.
Yeah, I think so.
They're in a bunch of mountains.
I think they ain't run out of stone in them areas.
But still, that's a lot of workmanship, man. That's still a lot of workmanship. But he even made one for his wife. Well, one of his wives.
So why that one get?
Boy, she must see what's the favorite. That's all I can say, and I can leave that right there.
For now. I thought God tell him to go back to Egypt, man.
Solomon, in his wisdom.
In his finite wisdom.
In his wisdom. The man said it was a good idea. He said, happy wife, happy life. And he built a palace. So, all right, let's keep on going. So in verse 13, now Solomon sent and brought Huram from Tyre. He was the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a bronze worker. He was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill in working with all kinds of bronze work. So he came to King Solomon and did all his work. And he cast 2 bronze pillars, each one 18 cubits high, and a line of 12 cubits measured circumference of each. In modern day measurements, that's about 27 feet high and 15 feet wide. Why you need something that big? It was 15 feet. It was a 15-foot wide column, bro. First of all, your hands pretty much stretch out wide, bro.
15 feet wide, right? For context, a basketball goal is 10 feet long, basically. Turn that horizontally, add 5 more feet.
Add the next half of the distance.
Right.
That's big, boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Solomon big time, bro. And they have 3 tiers, bro. I know I can let the civil engineer kind of.
I mean, think about just you go in a house, right? Just imagine a vaulted ceiling. That's essentially what they had, what they was talking about. So you have the roof, and you have beveled, and you go up a next one, and then you go up a next one. So we have this beveled ceiling design going on. Solomon, he was carrying on bad, boy.
Solomon didn't play. He didn't play.
Solomon was helping design thousands of years ago. People wanting their house now and can't afford it.
Real talk, but it's you know what it is, the wisest man, and you know what I mean? I'm the wisest man here, bro. I can't just have any old crib. You know what I mean? When KJV cribs come around.
KJV cribs. Who had the best palace in the ancient kingdom?
Real talk.
Solomon said, I could put my name in the ring.
Yeah, I'd like a word.
Oh, so let's see what else he had. He made a lattice work. Oh no, okay. Circumference. Then he made 2 capitals of cast bronze to set on top of the pillars. The height of each one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. He made a lattice network with reefs of chain work for the capitals that were on top of the pillars. 7 chains for one capital and 7 chains for the other capital. He also made pillars and 2 rows of pomegranates above the network all around to cover the capitals that were on top. But that's the idea for each capitals. The capitals were on top of the pillars in the hall with the shape of lilies, 4 cubits. The capitals on the 2 pillars also had pomegranates above by the convex surface, which was next to the network. And there were 200 such pomegranates in rows on each of the capitals all around. You know what's so funny? Like how old this was? I know we was talking pre-pod, but still how detailed it was too. You know what I'm saying? And bro, like this still craftsmanship. Like, and this still would be pretty beautiful. Like,
yeah, so just for context, a capital is like I want to call it like a finishing on top of the column. So like if you ever play chess and just imagine the queen piece, right? It's like a cylinder and then it have like a round, almost like a crown looking thing on top. That's the capital. So his columns, they weren't just going straight up. They had like a
I mean the best thing is like if you picture any ancient Greek city or if you watch Game of Thrones, some of the pillars they have on top, you know, it's a pillar connects to the top. It has like the decorative design.
Like almost like a bulb shape.
Yeah, like that's what the capital is. And so that's what they're talking about. But they think about it. This capital is 5 cubits wide, bro. Think of it, and this is a good example. So imagine how skinny you would see these pillars in these shows when they reenact ancient works. Or even if you go to ancient city now, you might see a capital. I mean, a column might be like maybe 5 foot wide. Like that's still a flat column. You know, it's up something 15 foot wide. So just imagine how massive. Just imagine how massive this capital to be on top of it, because it have to be big.
That's ridiculous, bro. See, but like if they scale,
exuberance.
Right? So like think about scaling that, right? His house would have had to been released. Like I didn't do the math on how much cubits and stuff like that, but imagine how spacious your house have to be where a 15-foot column just don't look out of place.
Wait, but then think about it too, bro. This isn't even stone, bro. This all metal. Like where you getting all these resources from, bro?
I mean, bro, if you the king and your nation nice and you wise, well, you ain't too much things you can't get your hand on. That's in my opinion. You feel me? Because like when you think about it, like when your nation flourishing, a lot of people want to be your friend. You know what I mean? And then, bro, and then think about it now. It take them 14 years. Like, you all have plenty of time to put that metal together, 15 foot. You all have plenty of time. But my boy Solomon he's no little timer, bro. He's a big timer. Understand? He ain't half stepping, bro.
No, sir.
He ain't half stepping in no categories. You see what they saying? Like the house. Come on now. Like we decked out my palatial estate. I'm going to show you guys how a palace.
But it's meant to be a king.
Yes. Y'all thought y'all see king before. Y'all thought y'all saw kings before. But not like Solomon. Not like King Solomon. Man.
Yeah, he was doing a lot. But wait, there's more. So he set up the pillars by the vestibule of the temple. He set up the pillar on the right and called its name Jashin. And he set the pillar on the left and called its name Boaz. The tops of the pillars were in the shape of lilies, so the work of the pillars was finished. Interesting. So Boaz technically would have been Solomon's like great granddaddy.
Oh yay. Now, this is relative.
You kind of forget it because we ain't talking about Boaz in a minute.
So that's a direct comment, because when I saw it, I'm like, all right, you paying homage. Sometimes you see words and you're like, people probably just was named that often. But no, this your ancestor, bro. This your great grandfather.
Yeah. So now in verse
on the sidebar, I Googled the word Judas, right? And it was like
Judas?
Yeah, the name Judas. And Google was basically saying like it has origins of meaning from Judah. You see what I'm saying? So it's almost like the New Testament way of saying Judah. Very interesting. Because ain't nobody else named, like he ain't come across no other Judas. I mean, I think another disciple was called Judas based on the interpretation, but I'm willing to go on this tangent for it. We get some chapters, some verses to get some verses ahead of us.
All right. So in verse 23, he made the sea of cast bronze, 10 cubits from one brim to the other, and it was completely round. Its height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits measured its circumference. Below the brim were ornamental buds encircling it all around, 10 to a cubit, all a way around the sea. The ornamental buds were cast into 2 rows. When it was cast, it stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, 3 looking toward the west, 3 looking toward the south, and not to be left out, 3 looking toward the east. The sea was set upon them, and in their back parts pointed inward. It was a handbreadth thick, and its brim was shaped like that of a brim of a cup. Like a lily blossom, it contained 2,000 baths. And in modern, measurements, because we don't measure things by baths anymore, that's about, some would argue, 12,000 gallons.
12,000 gallons, bro.
He had a swimming pool for a bathtub.
Bro.
Whatever it was.
Bro, what is that?
Like, what could fit in 12,000 gallons?
Bro, this guy is insane, bro. And you know what? I could imagine him giving people a tour of his house, bro, because like he'd say, oh yeah, so we put this here, and this one is facing east because it represents this and that. And I'm pretty sure it was eloquent and it was like a meaning behind all of these things, bro. But it's like, this is a lot. But you know what? It makes a little more sense. A lot of people, it's accepted, it's commonly accepted that he wrote most, if not all, of the book of Ecclesiastes. And it kind of makes sense why when you read the book, you're like, nothing really matters. It's all vanity, you know what I mean? It's all chasing after the wind. I know you can believe, right? Someone who never had it to say it's all vanity, or someone who had it all in excess, telling you, bro, honestly, bro, all this is vanity for real, dog. Like, trust me.
What's so funny too? Because like before we actually was getting on Solomon, right? Like got to the story, we were saying like he just said it because he was like the wisest man, so he would know. Now actually examining his life and see how this man had a year's meal every day. Such a lavish lifestyle. When he literally says, all this is nothingness. It's like chasing after the
wind,
the steam,
mist.
the smoke.
Yeah.
Maybe he might know what he means.
Yeah, see, it's one thing to say you know it because you have foresight, but it's another thing to say you know it because you experienced it. With all his wisdom, Solomon could have just saved himself a lot of time, money, and resources and work for people and say, oh, all this is a chasing after the wind, man. I ain't need no big house, man. I can just have a regular house. But no, he wanted to experience this. And in his experience, I don't know if beforehand he knew this, but at the end, his conclusion was like, bro, I mean, it was nothing for real. Like, you chasing after something that's unattainable, really. Yeah,
man, so you get this, but still don't have happiness.
Real dog. And I don't know. This kind of a little more telling to me because I've been in a situation where I was just buying everything I want and eating all of the meals that I want. Like if I want cheesecake every day of the week, I can eat that. You know what I mean? I eat all my favorite restaurants and I just was on a run, bro. And it actually was making me depressed, bro. And that was the craziest thing I ever experienced, bro, because I used to eat to as my vice. You know what I mean? Like I don't have certain vices that people my age have. So it's like if I get stressed out, how I can blow off steam, bro. Like sometimes I don't even feel like making music, bro. So I just eat a good meal and I calm. That make me calm. And then it get to a point where I start to really love eating good. Like love, bro. Like Not like, bro. Like I want to do this every day. Like a part of my day is like, what I eat in a day, man. Like what type of euphoric
What
feeling
can
I
I
give in
look
my
forward
taste
to?
buds,
Yeah.
right? And so I get to doing it, and I get to a point where it was like, bro, even last year, bro, even like around October last year, bro, like I kid you not, bro, I was waking up some days and I was just like, bro, I don't have feeling, bro. Like I can't feel, bro. Like I can't enjoy nothing because like I had too much. I was indulgent so much, but like I had no temperance. That's why they say the fruit of the spirit is self-control.
Mm-hmm.
Because and I just with food, bro, like every like it come around my birthday where it was like, obviously you want to treat yourself and thing, right? And my birthday was approaching, and I was like, bro, I want to love myself, bro, but I don't have nothing that I desire to eat, bro. Like I don't have no restaurant, no
I don't eat
meal.
it all.
I don't need somebody like it take away that enjoyment and food. And this might be menial and might be funny to some people, bro, but food have become a a very important part of my day and my life and just like my mental health. You feel me? That seeing how numb I became to it, it made me very depressed, bro. I was having like an existential crisis, bro. I was waking up like, bro, I don't care if I go to work, bro. I don't care if I get fired, bro. Like things like I just could not feel, bro. And that's because I had no structure. Now working out now, bro, it's so beautiful because, bro, I denying myself of every like I'd wake up and be like, bro, you know what? I feel like eating some baked chicken a day, like from like a Cuban restaurant, you know what I'm saying? Some nice yuca fries, aka cassava, that's what we call it in the Bahamas, in the islands, I guess. But I say, no, you gotta have discipline, bro. You gotta have discipline and you can eat something that could be beneficial to you, you know? Nah, it's a random tangent. But
Mm-hmm.
Solomon, I get, bro, when you read a clip, I know I read that book when I was just getting out of college. And that Loki was kind of depressing to read. I mean, it's a depressing book, but I was so ambitious, and I was reading Ecclesiastes because I wanted wisdom, you know. But he
Mm-hmm.
was basically saying, I mean, yeah, you could get this big house or whatever, but it ain't gonna mean nothing. You know what I mean? Like you could get the big job, it ain't gonna mean nothing. You see what I'm saying? And then he resolved to saying, bro, at the end of the day, bro, just spend time with your family. You see what I'm saying? Fair God.
He's like, bro, at the end of the day, if you really want to know what's true, bro, if you really want to know what's important,
Right.
seek God.
I see God.
Ecclesiastes hit you over. There's a time to reap. There's a time to sow.
Right. Cast your seeds among the harvest.
A time to kill. A time to heal.
Yeah. And so, like, just looking at Solomon, I am starting to build a thought about him and his lifestyle. And I'm wondering how happy the man was because all of these things, the first time is fun. Like when you win the lottery initially, it's a euphoric feeling. But then after 2 years of buying yourself everything, people start to get depressed. And we hear a lot of stories about people who win the lottery where
Mm-hmm.
they just end up, not wanting to live no more because they can't enjoy, bro, because you there's no temperance, there's no moderation. You have everything at your disposal. And in doing so, you have nothing that to work for. You have so much money that you didn't earn that you spend it frivolously. You know what I mean? And like now, I don't have nothing to. I have no like benchmarks. Like I have nothing to attain because everything I want, I can have just like right now for the most part. But anyway, we see Solomon. Solomon do it big. I ain't trying to hate. But when he started building this probably was at the beginning of his time. Like obviously the first like probably like 14 years of his reign, and it was probably exciting then. But as time progressed, the more things that he indulge or get, you know what I mean? It's probably his happiness or his ability to be happy probably diminish.
And the funny thing about it is we still got a lot more to go in Solomon too, because I want to hold this point until the end, because when we really get to examine everything he gone through, you really see this man live a life of overstimulation.
Yeah.
Stimulation. I don't know why I added to that word. But
you don't think that's kind of like, I don't want to say ironic, but I don't know what the term is.
It's
the person who has so much wisdom didn't see that it's unwise to over do something.
Right, because you can still be wise, but you
And I lack self-control though.
you
'Cause you
lack
still have to do
self-control.
it.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, Solomon was literally the person. It's funny how we talk about this, right? The one who built the temple still wanted his own heaven on earth, and
Yeah.
there was nothing stopping him from getting it.
No.
And we see how he still was obtaining it. Like this man, because I was telling you off, Paul, but think about it, man. In ancient times, man, even you go back to like Europe, these European cities, some of the most lavish buildings are the temples because like commoners just couldn't afford. You just can't afford that type of marksmanship because those temples were bankrolled by the church.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the kings or whatever, right? But think about it. This man spent twice the amount of time on his palace, right? And it was arguably nicer than the temple.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what type of pride and ego you trying to show there?
Get into
Almost like you trying to one up the temple. Like, oh, the temple nice. All right, cool. Y'all think the
thought
temple's
that
so
was
good?
nice.
Let me
Yeah.
show you what I can do. Let me show you what I could be living. And you was making a contrast too, talking about like David and Solomon, like how David just had a temple, not even a temple, he just had a house of cedar. He was like, man, I live in this good, just a house of cedar. We ain't talking about no bronze, we ain't talking
Gold,
about no
right.
stone, no gold,
Yeah.
no nothing. No, he in a house of cedar, right? And he's saying, man, I lay in my head in a house of cedar, but the ark of the God in a tent.
Mhm.
Like I need to go get that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Solomon saying, "Oh shoot, the ark of the God in a lavish palace almost. Oh,
Yeah.
I need to up the ante and build myself a lavish palace now."
It's like the opposite.
Yeah,
And that he did.
that
And
he did.
That he did.
That he did. Oh, we didn't even finish. So now in verse 27,
Mhm.
he also made 10 carts of bronze. 4 cubits was the length, and 4 cubits was the width, and 3 cubits height. And it was this design of the carts they made. They had panels. And the panels were between frames. On the panels, there were between the frames were lion, oxen, and cherubim. And on the frames was a pedestal on top. Below the lions and the oxen were wreaths of plaited work. Every cart had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze, and its 4 feet had supports. Under the laver were supports of the cast of bronze beside each wreath. In its opening, inside the crown, in its opening, the crown at the top had 1 cubit in diameter, and the opening was round, shaped like a pedestal. One of the half cubits in outside diameter, and it was also on the opening were engravings, but the panels were square, not round. Under the panels were 4 wheels, and the axles of the 4 wheels were joined into the cart. The height of the wheel was 1.5 cubits. The workmanship of the wheel was the workmanship of a chariot wheel. Their axle pins, their rims, their spokes, and their hubs were all cast from bronze. And there were 4 supports at the corners of each cart. Its supports were part of the cart itself. On top of the cart, and at the height of 0.5 cubit, it was perfectly round. And on the top of the cart, its flanges and its panels were of the same casting. On the plates of its phalanges and on its panels, he engraved cherubim, lions, palm trees. Wherever there was a clear space on each, the wreaths and all around, he made 10 carts. All of them were the same mold, 1 measure and 1 shape. He made 10 levers of bronze, each lever containing 40 baths, and each lava, was 4 cubits. On each of the 10 carts was a lava. And he put 5 carts on the right side of his house and 5 carts on the left side of his house. And he sat the sea on the right side of his house towards the southeast.
Let me ask you something.
Mhm.
We know in the book of which book described the cherubim? Ezekiel.
I think it's Ezekiel.
They say it had 4 heads:
Mm-hmm.
a lion, an ox, a
Mhm.
lamb, and a man.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In verse 29, it says on the panels that were between the frame were lions, oxen, cherubim. So we got a lion between this one, an ox between this one, and then we got all 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
And he steals some of this imagery straight from the temple because see the cherubim, the palm trees, all that. You know, he take some of this imagery right from the temple, and we see he incorporating it in his own house now.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
see, my thing is, that's so interesting. Like, I don't know if right or wrong, but it's intriguing to me because I imagine that he got instructions from God on how to build the temple. You understand what I'm saying? And now you got your own palace. Not only is it bigger, but it looked like the temple. You feel me? I don't know what to make of that for real, bro.
Exactly.
Because I ain't trying to say your boy was thinking himself bigger than God or whatever. But I think Solomon was actually flamboyant in his, like, he's flashy. You feel me?
Yeah, because even in these lavas was supposed to be used by like the priests in the temple to like do like their foot washing and stuff. And so he got how many of these? 10 around his house? Why?
No, Earl. Imagine, right? Imagine I save up my little piece of change and I say, bro, I about to build a house.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a common thing to do in the bombing. I'm about to build my house. But I build my house, and you come to my house and you say, wait, this house look almost exactly like the Providence Seventh-day Adventist Church. You wouldn't think that's peculiar at best? Like,
I'd be like, okay.
Like, why you got a baptism pool here? Like, you got pews here. You know what I mean?
I'd be like, my gosh, what's going on, man?
What's going on with you, bro? Like, let's be for real, dog. Let's be for real. Like, what is the reason? Like,
yeah, man. It'd be like, this where you live?
Yeah. Let me give you the tour.
You're seeing a lot of temple-ish stuff here, Solomon. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, bro, it's interesting.
All right, so in the last section right now, right, reading from verse 40, Hiram made the ladders and the shovels and the bowls. So Hiram finished doing all the work that he was to do for King Solomon for the house of the Lord. Then 2 pillars, 2 bowl-shaped capitals were on top of the pillars. Then the 2 networks covering the bowl-shaped capitals were on top of the pillars, 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, and to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals that were on top, the 10 carts and 10 levers of the cart, the 1 sea, and the 12 oxen under the sea, the pots, the shovels, and the bowls, everything we just finished talking about.
Mm-hmm.
All these articles which Hiram made for the King Solomon for the house of the Lord were burnished in bronze in the plain of Jordan, and the king had them cast in clay molds between Succoth and Zertan. And Solomon did not weigh all the articles because they were too many to weight the bronze, though the weight of the bronze was not determined. And Solomon made all the furnishings for the house of the Lord, the altar of gold, pardon me, the table of gold on which was the showbread, the lampstands of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left side in front of the inner sanctuary, the flowers, the lamps, and the wickers, and the wick trims of gold, the basins, the trims, the bowls, the ladles, the censers of pure gold, the hinges of gold, both for the doors in the inner room, the most holy place, and for the doors from the main temple. So all the work King Solomon had done for the house of the Lord was finished. And Solomon brought in things which his father David had dedicated, the silver and gold and the furnishings, and he put them in the treasuries of the Lord. So now, going back to what we were saying, right? And reading this ending. Were these things we were just talking about, were they for the temple or were they for Solomon's house?
All right.
Because in this last one, it made them sound like it was actually for the temple.
So all the work that King Solomon had done for the house of the Lord was finished.
Mm-hmm.
And Solomon brought in the things which his father David had dedicated, the silver and gold and the furnishing. He put them in the treasuries of the house of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think it just.
He gets
I think
by.
they basically, yeah. I think they basically just saying. It's a summary of saying, all right, at this point in the writings, his house and the temple are done.
Are both finished.
About finished, and he ended up taking the dedicated things and putting them in the treasuries. See,
overall, both is go for it.
Because even if we go to chapter 6, they say that it took 7 years in building, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the verse above it says, in the 11th year, in the month of Bull, which is the 8th month, the house was finished.
Yeah.
All its details. You understand? So building is how long it take, but then the details. It's all in the details.
So take the next 5 years to furnish the temple?
Yes. Yes.
They needed me back then because that's not efficient.
You think? Bro, but if you see that, you'll be like, oh.
They needed me back around because they just talked about these things was getting cast in the desert and thing. Oh, y'all could have been doing that. What?
I don't know, but I don't know what that means, bro. I don't know what it means to be built.
They wasn't running an efficient ship.
No.
They never have a just in time. Everything's supposed to be finished. Okay, we shouldn't. I guess it would take a year. I'd buy that. Okay, it's a big temple. 5 years though.
Bro, you don't know what all they had to do inside, bro.
God, some of this could have been forethought. I going too hard on them. I going too hard on them. See, the only thing with throwing me off is that they wasn't really using tools in the temple. So, like, how much work was really being done in? You feel me? So, okay.
Yeah. But
still, it was a decadent place, though.
Yes.
Very decadent. A lot of gold, a lot of imagery. Just a lot of skilled labor.
A lot of cherubims.
And then too, the reason I give them a little pass, but if Huram 1 was doing all of this work,
so is Huram the same person as Hiram?
Boy, I know, boy, because one got an I and one got a U, boy.
Like, y'all can switch this up for me one chapter.
But what? And Hiram was the king.
Yes.
So Huram is a worker, boy.
Okay.
He's a worker, boy. One shot, but because he died, he done dead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's just coincidence that their names are so similar.
Yeah, and they both from Tyre. You feel me?
Yeah.
See, but anyway, I don't know. Because I imagine that Hiram the king is much older than Solomon. You feel me?
That would be my thoughts as well.
Yes. So I don't know how much work he doing personally, especially if he's the king. Like, why you doing this, bro? We ain't here but Solomon, you know what I mean, get me ass dirty in this. You feel me? So, but yeah, man, Solomon got a house. The daughter of the Pharaoh, Solomon's wife got a house. You know what I mean? We get the temple. And now they setting it up so we can understand how just the state of Solomon. So this temple gets started when he had already rest. He already had received rest from all his enemies.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Bible say. And it's interesting because David was in the same predicament when David had got rest from all his enemies. And he was like, you know what? I ain't got no beef. Let me go build a temple. And so Solomon, in the same predicament, he ended up building. It take 14, probably a little more than 14 years. And now we're done.
Yeah, but and even on that point right there, right? Because I just was like, 'cause you know how this ended, right? So Solomon brought all the things which his father David had dedicated, the silver and gold and the furniture, and he put them in the treasury of the Lord, right? So I went over to Chronicles. I know Chronicles would have had what David do, right? So you go to First Chronicles chapter 29, right?
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, David said to the assembly, my son Solomon, whom alone God has chosen, is young and inexperienced. And the work is great because the temple is, and this work is great because this temple is not for man, but for the Lord God. Now for the house of my God I have prepared with all my might. Gold for the things to be made of gold, silver for the things to be made of silver, bronze for the things to be made of bronze, iron for the things of iron, wood for the things of wood, onyx stones to be set, glistening stones of various colors, and all the precious stones and the marble slabs in abundance. Moreover, because I have set my affection on the house of God, I have even given to the house of my God over and above all that I have prepared for the holy house, my own special treasure of gold and silver, 3,000 talents of gold, the gold of Ophir, and 7,000 talents of refined silver to overlay the walls of the house.
Man.
The gold things for the gold and the silver things for the silver, and for all the kinds of work to be done by the hands of craftsmen, who then is willing to consecrate himself for the Lord this day. I really just show, bro, like David was, bro, he really wanted this temple to happen, but really see, like, bro, he was saying, yo, guys, y'all talking about this, but I give it off of my own personal wealth to build this temple.
And he already had it map out. Yeah, we lining the walls with silver, we lining this with bronze, this and that. And so, like, we was just joking a couple minutes ago, but that could take 5 years easily, bro.
But my thing is, bro, David already had all this already set aside, and one could argue
crafting. It's crafting.
I agree with you with crafting, because I think, but one could also argue semantics, because we see, like, okay, he already made the arrangements for the wood to come, but Solomon still had to reach out to the king of time and be like, hey, yo, let's actually make this happen now.
Yeah,
so he might have. Yeah, like he might have not, like, had all these stuff already there for real. Again, semantics, but still.
Yeah, because it's like if me and you already have an agreement, so it's like when you procure stuff, bro. You might pay, you might do everything, but it ain't get shipped to you yet. You know what I mean? Or you won't come. You got to pay. Let's like you make just stuff that happens like in America and stuff, but you make a Walmart purchase. And you pick up in store, you know what I mean? You pick up your groceries in store or whatever. Like, I come to collect now. But yeah, you know what's interesting to me? Jumping the gun a little bit, right? When we think about Solomon, think about all the stories we know from David. We know stories from Saul. When it comes to Solomon, bro, it's the one story when he asked for wisdom. It's the building of the temple. And then it's the fall of Solomon.
Yeah, I think the one thing we ain't get to yet is the one with the queen. That's the only Solomon story. That's the only Solomon story we ain't get to yet. That he known for. Like Solomon known for about the beginning, his wisdom, the baby getting cut in half and not really getting cut in half, him building the temple and them downfalling. But the queen of Sheba's the only one that slide in the middle there. But Solomon ain't known for much. No disrespect to Solomon. Yeah,
no disrespect to Solomon, but that's what's interesting to me, because you the third king of Israel, right? But you build a temple, like you fulfill what your daddy wanted. Bro, you the wisest man, bro, but we don't even have much narrative on you, bro. Like you provided us
for what his writings.
Yeah, his writings, and that's like, to me, that's a big saving grace. That's a big saving grace. But
Proverbs save him.
Real talk. Proverbs save him, bro, because you got gems. You got gems in there, but in terms of like stuff he done, and narrative, I don't know. He might have done many things, but it just wasn't Bible worthy, But all like, just to summarize, a way too early summary, it's like him receiving him becoming king. Even though like that's still low-key a David story, him becoming king, his wisdom, building the temple, the Queen of Sheba, and then fall. So right now we at like part 3, building the temple.
Building up the temple of the Lord.
Real talk. I remote, you help me. You remote, you help
me. That's like a random tangent, right? It ain't really, it's random. Yeah. But someone tell me this week, right? Remember, we was going to do this whole thing like, oh, is this Bible, is it biblical? Something could be found in the Bible, right? Yeah. Remember, I tell you, one thing that would trip me up is Proverbs and Psalms. Because some of these be songing very whatever, right? Like some really be songing like, bro, y'all take this on a motivational book or something, right? Not actually in the Bible, right? Someone hit me this week was like, the Bible say a good person leaves inheritance to their children. And I was like,
That's it.
That's
That's
so
in Proverbs or Ecclesiastes?
and in Proverbs, bro.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, it might be by saying that's so like it just so like normal knowledge, right? I was like, I don't think that's biblical.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, but Proverbs 13:22. And I was like, okay.
Yep. Yep.
Good person leaves an inheritance to their children's children. I was like, so leave something to your grandkids, people. But
we can get there though. We can get to the book of wisdom. But
that could be
yeah,
an interesting one.
bro, there's so much wisdom in the Bible. Let's not I know obviously we're not, but I'm just saying in general, let's not downplay the Bible and its wisdom, bro. Plenty wisdom in the Bible, but we just read it and be like, duh. You know what I mean? Don't apply it and still forget it. And then when someone else say it, it's like, bro, that's so wise. You know what I mean?
Bro, I already say this, bro. Every self-help book has ripped off the Bible, bro.
Yes.
Everyone. And I read most of them, so I talking from experience.
Right.
Like a lot of them, bro, it's like this stuff, like, for a fact, bro, these principles are biblical principles, bro, that y'all just add some extra meat on and personal experience and how this impacted your life and you making money off of the Bible?
And a lot of them self-help books is be quoting the Bible straight up too, though.
Straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
Straight up. I remember I buy one book and I thought it was a devotional. I thought it was a devotional at that point. I say, wow.
That's funny.
So how you want to end this? I think we almost at the hour mark.
Yeah, real talk. I mean, let's just summarize, right? We got Solomon, very wise man. At this time, he is well in his kingship. He's already built a temple. He already built his house. And boy, what a house it is. You know what I mean? We spent one chapter talking about the temple being built. 1 Kings chapter 6, it was 37 verses, right? We get to chapter 7, it's 51 verses. Much longer time spent on Solomon. So like even just to look at the contrast, Solomon, this obviously wasn't his dream, but it was his task to build a temple, and he did it probably perfect. You know what I mean? But now that apart from the temple, Solomon had big eyes himself. You know what I'm saying? Like I see what God get, and you know what I mean. I'm the king. You know, I gotta get something too. You feel me? And he end up doing it big.
Very big. So overall, like, what are your thoughts on his house versus the temple?
See, sometimes I kind of hesitant not to make something out of nothing for real, but I do think that it's kind of telling the fact that King Saul he was the first king. You know what I mean? King Saul didn't have the big palatial estate. I'm sure his house was very nice. David didn't as well. And David was in a better position because David, he earned his kingship. Like he had people behind him even when he was on the run, you know? And then he was the son-in-law to the king too. So it's like, you know, and you best friends with the king's son too. Like you kind of understand the royal lifestyle to some degree. And then David is an artist. Like, let's not take that away from him. You know, like David wrote, he's a writer, he's a musician and stuff like that. So I feel like in terms of creativity, you could see why David put aside all these provisions and why David even had the creative vision to say, let's build a house for God, right? But David didn't say, let me get mine. David was almost like kind of, you know, man, it's kind of like a disappointing thing. I wanted to build this, but you know, God knows best so I can do it. But he didn't turn around and say, but you know what I mean? I can get mine regardless. You feel me? Or I can make my house this splendid thing. Like, I feel like David, he was more zealous for God than himself. You feel me? Now, I can't speak on Solomon's heart because even from a biblical standpoint, Solomon still go consecrate the temple. He still go, God can still come to him and answer his stuff. He still go, use his wisdom for the good. This ain't even at the time when Solomon's heart was turned or anything like that. But the optics of it, just on paper, to me, it does not, it kind of looks off that Solomon kind of stunt on the temple in the way he did. The temple is good, but mine, you know what I mean? I got a bigger house than the temple. Look, man, the temple is nice. Mine's just bigger is all I'm saying. You feel me? Like for real, like
yeah.
And so like that's kind of how I view Solomon. Not like it was competitive, but I feel like Solomon had very, very high, he held himself in high regard. And I won't just slap that he was tingsy, but I can just call a spade a spade. You don't need cherubims between all these posts. You know what I mean? You don't need 15 feet column. You know what I mean? But you want it to look good. And I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Hold on, but let me make one more point to that, bro.
Go for it.
Sometimes, bro, when we think about the gifts that we give God, we want to give God a specific gift, right? We want it to be nice and holy, right? But like music, for example, like it's the best thing for me. I given God, when it comes to me making music, I always used to think like, oh, I just go let the inspiration work and I give God an offering. When it comes to my music got to be perfect. Oh, I taken days to write these lyrics because these lyrics can't miss. But when it comes to God music, oh, you just doing whatever, you're just going with the flow. Even writing sermons. Like sometimes I feel like, bro, it is what it is, bro. I ain't stressing myself. But I used to write poems and I used to stress myself writing poems. You know what I'm saying? I feel like sometimes we give God what we feel like is good enough, right? And then when it comes to us in our personal life, we won't go all out. Let's think about tithes. Now, I ain't saying break the bank or nothing like that, right? But let's I think about sometimes when I donate to people I know and they cause, you know what I mean? I'm more inclined to give more freely than I am to give in my offering. Like the 10% is one thing, but when it comes to that offering piece, bro, I only given as much as I feel like, all right, I do it. You know what I mean? But like if I donate to this or if I helping somebody business or something like that, I might be a little more liberal. You feel me? Like, should it be like that? Should we look at God and feel like, is that putting God first? You
Mercy.
know what I mean?
Mercy.
And I feel like I was going a little hard on Solomon, because like obviously this text is like, there's only so much you could talk about the details of the temple for real, But like, let's make it applicable, bro. Like, how often do we go all out for God and we take what's left? You know what I mean? For us. A lot of times we make sure we straight, you know what I'm saying? And then we give to God. After completing the temple, Solomon began to work on his house. And he even built a house for one of his wives, Pharaoh's daughter. The construction of his house took 13 years, and the construction of the temple took 7. And after everything was finished, they had an opening ceremony to dedicate the temple, and they couldn't have done it during a better season. But we'll talk more about that on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next week.